The research ship Eternal Dawn moved quietly through space. Its blue lights blinked against the darkness as it circled a green planet below. Inside the ship, Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge, his reptilian scales catching the light. His crew was busy at their stations, checking screens and reading data. The planet below looked peaceful. Forests covered most of the land. Rivers cut through valleys. There were no cities, no technology. Nothing that showed intelligent life. The crew had been studying it for 3 days now. Soon they would move on to the next system. Then the alarm sounded. Dr. Hana looked up from her station. Her insect eyes went wide. Her 4 arms moved quickly across the controls. The numbers on her screen made no sense. She checked them again. "The same result, Captain," she said, her voice shaking. "I have detected 2 life forms on the surface." "The readings are unusual." Hyunwoo walked over to her station. He looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. The bioscanners were showing 2 creatures in a small clearing. But the numbers next to them were wrong. They had to be wrong. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "The primary life form registers as a Class 9 apex predator," Dr. Hana said slowly. "The secondary reads as Class 4. Both signatures do not match any known species in our database." The bridge went silent. Every crew member stopped what they were doing. A Class 9 rating was the highest danger level. Only 3 times in Union history had they encountered Class 9 predators. All 3 times people had died. "Run the scan again," Hyunwoo ordered. "There must be an error." Dr. Hana ran the scan 3 more times. Each time the result was the same. 2 unknown creatures, one extremely dangerous, both in a small area near a forest. Hyunwoo called his senior officers to the meeting room. They gathered around the table, looking at the holographic display showing the 2 heat signatures. Lieutenant Tae-hee, the security chief, stood nearly 3 meters tall. Her bear-like body was tense. "What do we know?" First Officer Young-soo asked. Dr. Hana brought up more data. The holographic display changed, showing graphs and numbers. She pointed with one of her 4 arms. "Both creatures have forward-facing eyes. This means they are hunters, not prey. The primary creature shows tool use capability. Its brain activity is complex, suggesting high intelligence. The smaller creature has incredible reaction speeds and can make sudden direction changes that should be physically impossible. Could they be Union citizens who crashed here?" Young-soo suggested. "No," Dr. Hana said. "The biosignatures do not match any known Union species. These are something new." Lieutenant Tae-hee leaned forward. Her clawed hands rested on the table. She had fought many dangerous creatures in her career. She had won hand-to-hand combat championships across 3 systems, but even she looked worried. "We should leave," she said. "A Class 9 predator is too dangerous. We are not equipped for this. Union law requires us to investigate unknown sentient life forms," Young-soo reminded her. "If these creatures are intelligent, we must attempt first contact." "First contact with something that can kill us all?" Tae-hee shook her head. "That is not wise." Hyunwoo listened to them argue. His mind went back to his last first contact mission. That was 5 years ago. 3 crew members never came home. He still saw their faces in his dreams. "We will observe from a distance," he decided. "Lieutenant Tae-hee, prepare a contact team. Full combat gear. Energy shields and weapons. We approach carefully. If the situation looks dangerous, we pull back immediately." Down on the planet, Day 1 was working in his garden. He did not know that a starship full of aliens was watching him from orbit. He did not know that their sensors said he was extremely dangerous. He was just pulling weeds and thinking about lunch. The sun was warm on his back. His small shelter stood nearby, built from salvaged metal from his crashed ship. That crash had happened 5 years ago. 5 long years of being alone. He had given up hope of rescue. This planet was his home now. A soft sound made him look up. Bomi was walking toward him from the forest. The small tabby cat had something in her mouth. Another successful hunt. She was a good hunter. Better than when they first crashed. The local mice and birds had learned to fear her. "Good girl," Day 1 said, scratching behind her ears. Bomi purred and dropped her catch. "You are such a good hunter." In the shuttle bay of the Eternal Dawn, Lieutenant Tae-hee checked her equipment. Energy shield fully charged. Neural disruptor set to maximum power. Emergency beacon synchronized with the ship. Medical kit loaded with strong sedatives. Her team of 6 stood ready. They were all veterans. They had seen combat. But they all looked nervous. Medical Officer Sungmin adjusted his supplies. "The sedatives should work on most carbon-based life forms," he said. But I have never dealt with a Class 9 before. I do not know if they will be enough. Let us hope we do not need them, Tae-hee replied. The shuttle dropped through the clouds. The clearing came into view. Through the magnified cameras, they could see the two creatures clearly now. The larger one was working near some plants. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and walked upright. Its body was covered in strange materials, not natural skin or scales. The smaller creature was more disturbing. It moved with a grace that seemed wrong. Every step was silent. Its eyes were large and focused. When it sat down, it watched everything around it with perfect stillness. "Computer, identify species," Tae-hee commanded. The computer took a moment, then words appeared on the screen. Primary creature, Homo sapiens. Common name, human. Origin, Earth. Secondary creature, Felis catus. Common name, domestic cat. Origin, Earth. Tae-hee stared at the screen. Earth. That name appeared in the database with red warning marks all around it. She quickly accessed the file. What she read made her blood run cold. "Captain," she said over the comm, "we have a problem. These creatures are from Earth. It is classified as a Class 12 death world, the highest danger rating in our database." On the bridge, Hyunwoo pulled up Earth's file. The information was limited and old. Most of it was marked as restricted. But what he could read was terrifying. Earth was a planet where everything tried to kill everything else. The predators were smart and fast. The prey had armor and poison. And humans had survived it all. Not just survived. They had thrived. Down in the clearing, Bomi suddenly stopped grooming herself. Her ears turned toward the sky. She had heard something. The shuttle was still hidden behind its stealth systems, but she knew something was there. She stood up and stared at the exact spot where the shuttle hovered. Her pupils dilated. Her tail swished once. Daewon noticed her behavior. He knew that look. She had spotted something. He followed her gaze upward, shading his eyes against the sun. For a moment, he thought he saw something shimmer in the air, like heat waves, but wrong. His heart started beating faster. After 5 years alone, could it be? Could someone finally be here? He raised his hand and waved. In the shuttle, alarms blared. The Class 9 predator had detected them. It was making gestures. Tae-hee's hand moved toward the emergency beacon. "Wait," Dr. Hana's voice crackled over the comm. "I recognize that gesture. Checking database. That is an Earth greeting. They are both from Earth. But Captain, that means humans brought another apex predator with them as a companion. What kind of species does that?" The question hung in the air as Daewon continued waving, still hoping for rescue. He had no idea that above him, an entire starship crew was trying to decide if he was too dangerous to save. Captain Hyunwoo sat in his private office, staring at the screens around him. Earth's file was open, spread across multiple displays. The information was incomplete, full of gaps and warnings. But what was there made his scales tingle with fear. Earth was quarantined 50 years ago. The file said it clearly. Contact prohibited. All human ships were to be turned back at the border. Any humans found outside their system were to be detained. The reasons were listed as extreme danger to galactic stability. But why? What made humans so dangerous? The files showed fragments of information from old probe missions. Images of massive cities covering entire continents. Billions of humans living together. Weapons that could destroy planets. Industrial complexes visible from orbit. And everywhere animals. Humans lived alongside creatures that should have eaten them. One video caught his attention. It showed human children, small and vulnerable, playing in a green space. Running with them were dogs. Large dogs with powerful jaws and sharp teeth. The dogs chased the children. The children laughed. When a child fell, the dog licked its face. The child hugged the dog. Hyunwoo watched the video 3 times. In his understanding of the galaxy, predators ate prey. They did not play with them. They did not show affection. The only explanation was that human children were not prey. They were predators too, even the young ones. He opened a communication channel to the shuttle. Lieutenant Tae-hee's face appeared on the screen. "Report," he said. "The human has been trying to signal us for the past hour," Tae-hee said. "He is using basic mathematics patterns, universal signs of intelligence. He appears friendly, but we cannot be certain." "What about the smaller one?" "The cat?" "It has positioned itself between the human and our shuttle. It sits very still watching us. When it moved earlier, it showed its teeth. I believe it was a dominance display. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. A yawn, the cat had yawned. But to Tae-hee, who had never seen a cat, it looked like a threat. The gulf of understanding between species was wider than he thought. Down in the clearing, Daewon was getting frustrated. He had tried everything he could think of. He waved. He used his emergency beacon to send mathematical sequences. He even tried drawing pictures in the dirt, though he doubted anyone could see them from up there. The shimmer in the sky was still there. Something was definitely watching him. Why would they not respond? Bomi sat nearby, her tail wrapped around her paws. She did not like the strange thing in the sky. It made no sound, but she could feel it there. Her instincts told her to be cautious. When Daewon grew more animated, jumping and waving his arms, Bomi moved closer to him. She would protect her human if needed. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, Dr. Hana was conducting research. She pulled up every file about Earth mammals. The information was limited but fascinating. Earth had something called domestication. Animals that once were wild had been changed over many generations to live with humans. Dogs came from wolves. Cats came from wild hunters. Horses, cows, chickens, all of them had wild ancestors. But humans had brought them into their homes and farms. They fed them, protected them, and in return the animals gave loyalty, food, or labor. The concept barely existed in Union space. Most species achieved intelligence by avoiding predators, not befriending them. The idea that you could turn a predator into a companion seemed impossible. Yet humans had done it dozens of times with dozens of species. Dr. Hana called a meeting with the senior staff. "I believe I understand what makes humans dangerous," she said, her mandibles clicking. "It is not their physical strength or their weapons. It is their ability to make alliances." She brought up images on the holographic display. Humans riding horses. Humans with birds on their arms. Humans swimming with dolphins. Humans walking with elephants that could crush them with one step. They bond with other species, she continued, not as master and slave, as partners, as friends. That cat down there, it is not a pet in the way we understand. It is a companion, an ally. The human trusts it and it trusts the human. First Officer Youngsu looked skeptical. So they make friends with predators. That still does not explain the quarantine. Think about it, Dr. Hana said. If humans can bond with any species, what happens when they meet us? They will want to bond with us too. They will offer friendship and alliance. And if we refuse, if we treat them as threats, they will defend themselves with every ally they have ever made. The room fell silent. The implication was clear. Humans were not dangerous because they attacked. They were dangerous because they made everyone around them stronger. Captain Hyun-woo made his decision. They would try communication, but carefully, very carefully. Deploy a communication drone, he ordered. Keep the shuttle at a safe distance. If the situation becomes dangerous, pull back immediately. The small drone descended from the shuttle. It was designed for first contact situations. It had speakers, visual displays, and a translation computer. It could learn new languages quickly by analyzing speech patterns. Daewon watched it come down. His heart raced with excitement. Finally, contact! The drone landed 50 meters away. A holographic figure appeared above it. The figure bowed, a gesture that looked like respect or greeting. Daewon approached slowly, his hands visible. He did not want to seem threatening. He spoke in clear, simple English. "Hello, my name is Daewon. I am human. I have been on this planet for 5 years. My ship crashed. Can you help me?" The drone's computer began analyzing his words. On the Eternal Dawn, Dr. Hana watched the data flow in. The translation program was building a language database. It would take time, but communication was possible. Bomi was curious about the strange new object. She walked over to it, sniffing carefully. It smelled of metal and electricity. Interesting. She reached out with one paw and batted at the holographic figure. Her paw went through it, which was confusing but entertaining. The drone's sensors registered the contact as an attack. Its defensive systems activated automatically. A mild electric shock field appeared around it. Bomi touched the field and yowled in surprise. The shock was not strong enough to hurt her, but it was unpleasant. She jumped backward, her fur standing up. Daewon's face changed instantly. His friendly expression vanished. He rushed to Bomi and scooped her up, checking her for injuries. She was fine, just startled and offended. But Daewon did not know that the aliens could not understand his concern. He turned toward the drone, holding Bomi close. His voice was sharp. "Why did you hurt her?" She was not attacking. She was just curious. On the shuttle, alarms blared. The cameras showed Daewon advancing toward the drone. He was holding the smaller predator. His voice was raised. His body language suggested anger. Lieutenant Tae-hee's hand hovered over the weapon's authorization control. Her team tensed, ready to defend themselves. "He is protecting her," Dr. Hana said over the comm. "This is pack behavior. We have just threatened a member of his pack. He thinks we attacked his companion." Captain Hyun-woo acted quickly. He ordered the drone to project an apology sequence. Visual displays of submission and regret appeared on the holographic screen. The images were designed to work across most Union species, showing peaceful intent. Daewon stopped advancing. He looked at the images. They were simple. A figure bowing. A figure offering something. A figure backing away. He understood. They were saying sorry. He took a deep breath and calmed himself. Bomi was not hurt. It was an accident. He nodded and lowered his voice. "Okay, I understand. It was a mistake. But please be careful. She is my friend. I do not want her hurt." The translation computer had enough data now. A voice came from the drone speakers. It was synthesized and strange but understandable. "We apologize. We did not mean harm. Your companion is safe. We wish to communicate." Daewon's face lit up with a smile. They were talking to him. After 5 years of silence, someone was finally talking to him. Yes, please. I have so many questions. Where are you from? What year is it? Can I get a ride home? Is Earth okay?" On the bridge, the crew listened to his eager questions. This was not the behavior of a dangerous predator. This was someone who was lonely, someone who wanted help. Dr. Hana spoke through the drone. She asked him about his crash, about his survival, about his relationship with the cat. Daewon answered everything honestly. He explained how Bomi had been on his ship, how they had survived together, how she hunted local prey while he grew food, how they kept each other company through the long, lonely years. As he talked, Bomi decided the drone was safe now. She approached it again and rubbed her head against its base, marking it with her scent glands. On the bridge, this behavior triggered more analysis. Territory marking? Resource claiming? Daewon laughed. The crew heard the sound through the comm. It was warm and genuine. "She likes you now," he explained. "When cats rub against things, it means they feel safe. It is friendly behavior. Friendly. A predator being friendly." The concept was difficult to grasp, but the evidence was there, visible on every screen. The human was gentle with the cat. The cat was relaxed around the human. They were not predator and prey. They were companions. Captain Hyun-woo made another decision. If this human wanted contact, they would give it to him. But they would be prepared. "Just in case, Lieutenant Tae-hee," he said. "Prepare your team for in-person contact. We are going to meet this human face to face." The shuttle descended through the afternoon sky. Inside, Lieutenant Tae-hee checked her equipment one last time. Her team sat around her, quiet and tense. This was it. They were going to meet a human face to face. Engineer Jun-ho carried a bag of gifts. A food synthesizer, communication equipment, entertainment media. Things that might help someone who had been alone for 5 years. His hand shook slightly as he held the bag. Dr. Hana sat in the back, her forearms moving across her tablet as she reviewed her notes. She had so many questions. About humans, about cats, about Earth. This was the scientific opportunity of a lifetime. The shuttle landed in the clearing 50 meters from Daewon's shelter. The doors opened slowly. Lieutenant Tae-hee stepped out first, her massive form blocking the entrance. She wore full armor but kept her weapons holstered. Her instructions were clear. Defend only if attacked. Use minimum force. Daewon waited near his shelter. He had cleaned himself as best he could. He wore his least damaged clothes. He had even tried to comb his hair with his fingers. First impressions mattered, and he wanted to seem friendly. Bomi sat beside him, watching the shuttle with interest. She could smell new things, strange things. Her curiosity was strong, but she stayed close to Daewon. He had asked her to be good, and she trusted him. When Tae-hee emerged from the shuttle, Daewon's eyes went wide. She was huge, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in fur, with claws that could tear metal. She looked like a bear walking upright. A very large armored bear, but she was here. She was real. Someone had finally come. Daewon stepped forward and extended his hand. It was a human gesture, a handshake, a sign of peace and greeting. He had no idea if these aliens would understand it. Tae-hee recognized the gesture from the database. A handshake, a greeting among humans. She reached out slowly with her large clawed hand. Their hands met. His was small and hers fragile. She was very careful not to squeeze too hard. "Welcome," Daewon said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you so much." Tae-hee's translator worked quickly. She heard his words and understood them. She also heard the emotion behind them. Relief, gratitude, hope. This was not a dangerous predator. This was someone who had been alone too long. "We are pleased to meet you," she said through her translator. Her voice came out mechanical but clear. Then everything went wrong. Bomi, excited by Daewon's happiness and curious about the visitors, darted forward. She slipped between Tae-hee's legs and into the shuttle before anyone could react. Inside, she saw warm surfaces, interesting smells, and lots of new things to explore. Security Officer Minji stood inside the shuttle, monitoring the landing. She saw a Class 9 predator charging directly at her. Her training took over. Her hand slammed down on the emergency containment button. Energy barriers appeared throughout the shuttle. They hummed with power, blocking every exit. Bomi found herself trapped inside, surrounded by glowing walls she could not pass through. Outside, Daewon shouted in alarm. "Bomi! No, let her out!" He started toward the shuttle. Tae-hee moved to block him gently. "Please do not be alarmed," she said. "Your companion is safe. The barriers will not harm her." My crew member was startled. "We will release her." Startled? Daewon's friendly demeanor evaporated. "She is a cat. She is curious. She was not attacking. You cannot lock her up." On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Captain Hyun-woo watched the situation unfold. The fragile trust they had built was crumbling. The human was upset. The situation could turn dangerous quickly. Inside the shuttle, Bomi looked around at her new prison. The energy barriers were bright and made a soft humming sound. She did not like them, but she was not scared. The shuttle interior was warm and full of interesting equipment. She jumped onto a console and sniffed the controls. One of them had a holographic display showing colored lights. When she batted at it with her paw, the lights changed. This was fun. She played with the display, watching the pattern shift with each touch. Security Officer Minji watched from behind her own barrier. She spoke into her comm with confusion. "The predator is interacting with the navigation display. It appears to be playing?" Dr. Hana heard this and her compound eyes went wide. Playing. The predator was playing, alone, without prey or combat practice. This was behavior that did not exist in Union understanding of predators. Outside, Daewon was trying to explain to Tae-hee. "Cats are curious animals," he said, forcing himself to speak calmly. "They explore. They investigate. It is natural behavior. She means no harm. She probably just wanted to see what was inside. Please, just let her out." Tae-hee contacted the bridge. Captain Hyun-woo and Dr. Hana conferred quickly. Dr. Hana suggested they observe the cat's behavior for a few minutes. If she showed no aggression, they would release her. The captain agreed. Tae-hee explained this to Daewon. He was not happy, but he agreed to wait. What choice did he have? Inside the shuttle, Bomi finished playing with the holographic display. She had found the warmest spot in the shuttle, directly on top of a main computer console. The heat from the electronics was perfect. She circled 3 times, then curled up with her tail over her nose. Within seconds, she was asleep. A soft purring sound filled the shuttle. The crew watched through multiple cameras. The apex predator had made itself comfortable and was now sleeping. The purring sound was transmitted through the speakers. It was a low rhythmic vibration. Engineer Jun-ho analyzed the sound from the shuttle bay. "That frequency is typically associated with aggressive displays in known predators," he said, like a warning growl. But Dr. Hana had been researching. She had found information about feline vocalizations in the Earth database fragments. "That is called purring," she said. "It indicates contentment. The cat feels safe. She is not preparing to attack. She is napping." The bridge crew listened to the purring for several minutes. It was oddly soothing. The rhythm was steady and calm. First Officer Young-soo found himself relaxing despite his concerns. "Perhaps," he said cautiously, "the predator is not immediately dangerous." Dr. Hana proposed her idea to release Bomi. She wanted to see if the cat would return to Daewon peacefully. If she did, It would prove that her behavior was not threatening. It would show that the bond between human and cat was real. Captain Hyun-woo considered the risks. Lieutenant Tae-hee supported the plan. Medical Officer Sung-min confirmed they had sufficient defenses if things went wrong. The captain gave his authorization. Security Officer Min-ji carefully lowered the energy barriers. The humming stopped. The shuttle doors opened. Multiple camera drones hovered at safe distances, recording everything. Outside, Daewon called out softly, "Bomi, come here, girl." Inside the shuttle, Bomi woke from her nap. She stretched, arching her back and extending her claws. Then she hopped down from the warm console and padded toward the open door. She paused at the threshold, sniffing the air. Then she jumped gracefully to the ground. She trotted to Daewon and rubbed against his legs, purring loudly. He knelt down and scooped her up, holding her close. He checked her over carefully, making sure she was not hurt. She was fine. She licked his nose and purred harder. The entire crew of the Eternal Dawn watched this interaction. They saw something they had never seen before. A predator seeking comfort from another predator, receiving it, relaxing in complete trust. This was not predator behavior. This was family. Daewon stood up, still holding Bomi. He looked at Lieutenant Tae-hee and the other crew members who had emerged from the shuttle. His expression was guarded but hopeful. "Do you understand now?" he asked quietly. "She is not dangerous. She is my friend, my family." Tae-hee nodded slowly. She did understand. At least the beginning of understanding. The sensors had not lied about the danger rating. Both human and cat were indeed apex predators by evolutionary design. But being capable of danger was not the same as being dangerous. Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through the communication drone that had followed the landing team. "Daewon," he said, speaking directly to the human for the first time without intermediaries. "I am Captain Hyun-woo of the Galactic Union research vessel Eternal Dawn. I would like to invite you and your companion to visit our ship. We have much to discuss." Daewon's face transformed. His smile was bright and genuine, full of joy and relief. Yes, I would love that. Thank you. Thank you so much." As the shuttle prepared for departure, Dr. Hana accessed a classified file. What she found made her antenna twitch with concern. She sent an urgent message to Captain Hyun-woo's private console. The file was clear. Earth was under quarantine. Contact was prohibited. All humans found outside their system were to be detained. The order came from the Galactic Union High Council itself. They had just invited a quarantined human aboard their ship. They had already violated protocol. The question now was what they would do about it. As Daewon boarded the shuttle with Bomi in his arms, completely unaware of the political storm he represented, Captain Hyun-woo sat on his bridge and wondered if he had just made the best decision of his career or the worst mistake of his life. The Eternal Dawn was bigger than anything Daewon had imagined. The shuttle docked in a bay that could hold 20 ships its size. Daewon stood in the doorway holding Bomi and stared at the massive space around him. Lights blinked on distant walls. Crew members of species he had never seen moved about their work. After 5 years on a quiet planet, the noise and activity overwhelmed him. Lieutenant Tae-hee walked beside him, her large form somehow reassuring. She noticed his wide eyes and slowed her pace. "Take your time," she said through her translator. "This must be quite different from your clearing." Daewon laughed nervously. Different was an understatement. He tightened his hold on Bomi. She seemed calm, watching everything with her usual curiosity. Her calmness helped him feel calmer too. They walked through corridors that curved gently. The walls glowed with soft light. Crew members stopped to stare as they passed. Daewon heard whispers in languages he did not understand. He tried to smile at everyone, but the stares made him uncomfortable. What he did not know was that the entire crew had been briefed about him. They knew he was human. They knew humans were from a quarantined planet. They knew the sensors rated him as extremely dangerous. But they had also seen the videos of him with his cat. The crew did not know what to think. Tae-hee brought him to the observation deck first. She thought he might like to see his planet from above. When the doors opened, Daewon walked to the massive windows and stopped. Below them, the planet turned slowly. He could see the green forests, the blue oceans, the white clouds. Somewhere down there was his little clearing, his shelter, his garden, his home for 5 years. Tears filled his eyes. He set Bomi down gently and pressed his hand against the window. He had forgotten how beautiful a planet looked from space. He had forgotten what it felt like to be part of something bigger than survival. "It is a good planet," Tae-hee said softly. "You chose well to make a home there." "I did not choose," Daewon said, wiping his eyes. "My ship crashed, but yes, it became a good home." Bomi was not interested in the view. She had spotted something more interesting. The observation deck had plants growing in pots along one wall. She trotted over and began sniffing them with great interest. Several Thryn crew members worked nearby, tending the plants. They froze when they saw the cat approaching. One of them made a chittering sound of alarm, but Bomi just rubbed against a large pot and sat down to watch them work. After a moment, one brave Thryn reached out with a manipulator arm and gently touched Bomi's head. Bomi leaned into the touch, purring. The Thryn's antenna twitched with surprise and delight. Soon all 3 Thryn were taking turns petting her. Daewon watched with amusement. Bomi had always been good at making friends. Next, Tae-hee showed him the mess hall. The large room was filled with crew members eating various foods. The smells were strange but not unpleasant. Some crew members looked up when they entered, but most continued their meals. Tae-hee led him to the food synthesizers. She explained how they worked, creating meals from basic nutrients. Daewon could request any food that was in the database. "Do you have Earth food?" he asked hopefully. "Some," Tae-hee said. "The database is incomplete, but there are samples." Daewon requested rice and vegetables. When the food appeared, it did not taste exactly like home. But it was close. Close enough to make him remember his mother's cooking. Close enough to make him miss Earth even more. While he ate, crew members slowly gathered around his table. They kept a respectful distance, but their curiosity was obvious. Medical Officer Sung-min approached first, asking permission to sit. Daewon nodded eagerly. He wanted to talk to people. He had missed conversation so much. Sung-min asked about his health, about how he survived alone, about his diet on the planet. Daewon answered honestly, explaining about the edible plants he had found, the water he filtered, the shelter he built. Sung-min took notes, fascinated by human adaptability. More crew members joined the conversation. They asked about Earth, about human culture, about cats. Daewon talked about cities and technology, about music and art, about how humans kept many different animals as companions. The crew listened with amazement. Bomi, meanwhile, had wandered off from the observation deck. She was exploring the ship on her own. She found her way to engineering, where the warm machines called to her. Engineer Jun-ho was working on a malfunctioning console when he felt something soft brush against his leg. He looked down and saw the cat. The Class 9 Predator. She looked up at him with large amber eyes and meowed softly. Jun-ho froze. What should he do? Call security? Run? But the cat just sat down and continued looking at him. She did not seem threatening. She seemed curious. Carefully, Jun-ho reached out one hand. Bomi sniffed his fingers, then rubbed her head against them. Her purr was loud in the quiet engine room. Jun-ho felt himself relax. Dr. Hana was right. This was not a monster. This was just a small, friendly animal. Bomi jumped onto his lap and curled up. Within minutes, she was asleep, purring steadily. Jun-ho sat very still, afraid to disturb her. He found the purring soothing. The vibration was calming. He had never experienced anything like it. Word spread quickly through the ship. The cat was in engineering. Engineer Jun-ho was petting it. Crew members began finding reasons to visit engineering. They wanted to see the apex predator up close. They wanted to touch her. When Daewon finally tracked Bomi down, he found a dozen crew members gathered around Jun-ho's workstation. They were taking turns petting Bomi, who accepted the attention like a queen receiving tribute. Daewon laughed. He explained basic cat handling rules, how to pet them gently, where they liked to be scratched, what sounds meant they were happy or annoyed. The crew listened carefully, eager to learn. Security Officer Minji approached Daewon. She looked embarrassed. "I want to apologize," she said, "for activating the containment field earlier. I was afraid, but I should have trusted that you knew your companion. I am sorry." Daewon smiled and accepted her apology. He understood fear. He held no grudge. Minji seemed relieved. She asked if she could pet Bomi. Daewon showed her how. Bomi, tired of all the attention, decided Minji's arms would make a good bed. She fell asleep there, much to Minji's delight. Later, Captain Hyun-woo called Daewon to his office. The room was smaller than Daewon expected. Books and datapads lined the walls. A star chart glowed on one screen. Hyun-woo gestured for Daewon to sit. "I must tell you something," the captain said. "Something important about your situation." Daewon felt his stomach tighten. This sounded serious. Hyun-woo explained about the quarantine, about how Earth was forbidden territory, about how humans were not supposed to be in Union space, about how Daewon technically should be detained and held until the High Council decided what to do with him. Daewon listened with growing dismay. After everything, after finally finding people again, he was a prisoner. But then Hyun-woo continued. He explained his decision. He was going to challenge the quarantine order. He was going to submit a complete report to the High Council. He was going to petition for humanity to be given a fair chance at joining the Galactic Union. "It may take years," Hyun-woo said. "The Council moves slowly, and I may lose my command for this, but I believe it is right. The quarantine was based on fear and incomplete information. You and your companion have shown us that humans are not the monsters we thought." He asked Daewon what he wanted to do. Would he wait with them while the petition was reviewed? Or did he want to try returning to Earth on his own? Daewon thought about it. He looked around the captain's office. He thought about the crew members who had gathered to pet Bomi. He thought about Taehee's gentle guidance. He thought about the Thrin in the observation deck who had been so delighted by his cat. "I will stay," he said. "If you are willing to fight for understanding between humans and the Union, I will help however I can. I will be the best ambassador Earth never officially sent." Hyun-woo's reptilian face showed what might have been a smile. They shook hands, sealing the agreement. That evening, Daewon was given quarters on the ship. A real bed, a real bathroom, climate control. He had almost forgotten what comfort felt like. Bomi immediately claimed the bed as her own, stretching out in the center. As Daewon lay down next to her, listening to her purr, he felt something he had not felt in 5 years. Hope. Real, genuine hope. He was not alone anymore. He had found people who were willing to look past their fears and see him as he really was. And somewhere in the galaxy, the wheels of bureaucracy began to turn. The petition had been filed. The question of humanity's place among the stars had been officially raised. The answer would take time. But at least now the question was being asked. "I am thinking that I am very lucky," he said. "I crashed on a planet alone. I thought my life was over. But instead I became a bridge. Between my species and yours. Between different ways of thinking. Between fear and friendship. That is not bad for an accidental ambassador." Taehee placed one large, clawed hand gently on his shoulder. The gesture would have terrified him 6 months ago. Now it felt like comfort. "You were never alone," she said. "You had Bomi, and now you have all of us. That is what humans do, right? You build families wherever you go." Daewon nodded, too moved to speak. She was right. He had built a family here, not through biology but through shared experiences and mutual respect. A family of different species, different origins, different evolutionary paths, but a family nonetheless. Bomi chose that moment to yawn, showing all her sharp teeth. Several crew members tensed reflexively, then laughed at themselves. They knew better now. A yawn was just a yawn, even from an apex predator. The ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward its next assignment. Inside, life continued. Crew members worked and rested. Friendships deepened. Understanding grew. And at the center of it all, a human and his cat showed the galaxy that danger and friendship were not opposites. They could exist in the same being. It just took the courage to look beyond the classifications and see the individual. Years from now, when Earth finally joined the Galactic Union, historians would debate how it happened. What changed the Council's mind? What broke through the fear? The answer was simple. One human, one cat, one starship crew willing to look past their sensors and see the truth. That was all it took. That was all it ever took. Understanding, connection, trust, and a lot of purring. Wanted to see the apex predator up close. They wanted to touch her. When Daewon finally tracked Bomi down, he found a dozen crew members gathered around Junho's workstation. They were taking turns petting Bomi, who accepted the attention like a queen receiving tribute. Daewon laughed. He explained basic cat handling rules, how to pet them gently, where they like to be scratched. What sounds meant they were happy or annoyed. The crew listened carefully, eager to learn. Security Officer Minji approached Daewon. She looked embarrassed. "I want to apologize," she said, "for activating the containment field earlier. I was afraid, but I should have trusted that you knew your companion. I'm sorry. Day One smiled and accepted her apology. He understood fear. He held no grudge. Minji seemed relieved. She asked if she could pet Bomi. Day One showed her how. Bomi, tired of all the attention, decided Minji's arms would make a good bed. She fell asleep there, much to Minji's delight. Later, Captain Hyunwoo called Day One to his office. The room was smaller than Day One expected. Books and data pads lined the walls. A star chart glowed on one screen. Hyunwoo gestured for Day One to sit. I must tell you something, the captain said. Something important about your situation. Day One felt his stomach tighten. This sounded serious. Hyunwoo explained about the quarantine, about how Earth was forbidden territory, about how humans were not supposed to be in Union space, about how Day One technically should be detained and held until the High Council decided what to do with him. Day One listened with growing dismay. After everything, after finally finding people again, he was a prisoner. But then Hyunwoo continued. He explained his decision. He was going to challenge the quarantine order. He was going to submit a complete report to the High Council. He was going to petition for humanity to be given a fair chance at joining the Galactic Union. It may take years, Hyunwoo said. The Council moves slowly, and I may lose my command for this. But I believe it is right. The quarantine was based on fear and incomplete information. You and your companion have shown us that humans are not the monsters we thought. He asked Day One what he wanted to do. Would he wait with them while the petition was reviewed? Or did he want to try returning to Earth on his own? Day One thought about it. He looked around the captain's office. He thought about the crew members who had gathered to pet Bomi. He thought about Tae-hee's gentle guidance. He thought about the Thrin in the observation deck who had been so delighted by his cat. I will stay, he said, if you are willing to fight for understanding between humans and the Union. I will help however I can. I will be the best ambassador Earth never officially sent. Hyunwoo's reptilian face showed what might have been a smile. They shook hands, sealing the agreement. That evening, Day One was given quarters on the ship. A real bed, a real bathroom, climate control. He had almost forgotten what comfort felt like. Bomi immediately claimed the bed as her own, stretching out in the center. As Day One lay down next to her, listening to her purr, he felt something he had not felt in 5 years. Hope. Real, genuine hope. He was not alone anymore. He had found people who were willing to look past their fears and see him as he really was. And somewhere in the galaxy, the wheels of bureaucracy began to turn. The petition had been filed. The question of humanity's place among the stars had been officially raised. The answer would take time, but at least now the question was being asked.